Hello, Cybermaster fans. How you doing? Let me get my camera straight here today. A little change. Our good friend and guest, Phil Ristaino of
Howdy.
Post. What is the name of the website?
Postrelevant.com. I have a podcast called the Post Relevant Podcast.
And I've seen a couple of versions. It's quite intriguing. Now, it's an audio podcast,
Yeah.
really, right?
Yeah.
So why did you do an audio podcast compared to a TV show, if you will?
I don't know. Counterintuitively, I'm an actor, so you'd think I'd want to get my face on the screen. But
Exactly, because I know you from your acting career as well.
I grew up listening to rock and roll and everything, but also stuff like Steve Martin and Cheech and Chong and Monty Python's sketch albums that they would make and stuff. And so I love that format of making like a whole audio universe complete with sound design and music scoring and storytelling and all this different kinds of. I love that whole audio format where you're just like immersed in that form of a universe and you get to make up what's happening in your head while you listen to it, and I just find it really appealing. I love the whole headphone listening of things in stereo.
The audio immersion.
Audio immersion. There's something super appealing about that for me.
That's awesome.
So I really wanted to make a show that sort of exploited that, whole idea and allowed me to...
Can we take a look at your website? Can we check it out?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, pull it up for a moment.
Something that allowed me to create something that involved stories and interviews and sketches and comedy and sound design and collage and music and like anything that I wanted, and I could just assemble it all and then put it out like as these fully assembled little pieces of art.
What is the meaning? What is the message? What is the message of the whole show? So, for example.
God.
So this is a great show. I'm really excited because I'm looking to sort of
there's the website.
see how our friend here. So this is Post Relevant. Okay.
The Post Relevant Podcast.
And these are audio files that you'll be able to see and listen to.
Like those are the right
so
there.
So if you click on one of them.
This is the newest show. I just put it out today, actually.
Oh, this is a brand new show. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And this is actually, all right, so let me explain this show. Are you playing it?
I just want to play 2 seconds of it.
Oh, yeah, play the... And that one's interesting because I made this cool little sound collage right at the beginning.
So now, it's all your audio, or it's like a different audio?
Well, I will find pieces of audio that I like, and I go to freemusicarchive.org a lot and get cool score music from there.
Doesn't cost you anything?
No.
You're free to go on that?
There's like certain kind of licenses that you agree to that it's just like you give credit to the artist, you know what I mean? So, and they put it out there because they want people to be able to use their work. Nice. In the same way as I'm podcasting, I want anyone to be able to just hear it. I'm not looking for you to pay $5 just to hear my work. I'm enjoying the pure process of creation, and I just want to get it out there that way. So
it's an art project, really.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a visual artist
with a message.
Well, let's see if we have a message. I'm not sure, but I've been like a visual artist, and I've made music and an actor since I was like 4 or 5. You know what I mean? All that stuff has been like stewing and brewing.
Role? I didn't know you were that young.
I was was it kindergarten or first grade? I was the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland.
No way!
Isn't that killer?
That's killer.
That's such a I should have known that explains my entire existence. Was I was the White Rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. So that was it, and I was
you were hooked
immediately.
Really?
I love doing it. I love performing. I guess I'm a ham, but I also I got it. Like it made sense to me. I sort of knew intuitively how to perform.
Okay.
And creativity is all very intuitive for me. So it's just coming out of me. I don't put boundaries on like. I'm just, I'm a visual artist, or I'm a singer, or I'm an act. Like I don't put any any restrictions. I'm just like, I create, like I have the creative force and I want to express it in any way I'm, that strikes my fancy whenever it does.
You have so much energy. Like I feel it. I'm feeling it. You know what I mean? Like I get it. And tell us about a couple of your acting things, because one of them is really interesting that you worked on, which was that Star Trek thing. But tell us a little bit about your career there. What have you been through?
Oh God, I've been through it all, man. I mean, I went to school for theater in upstate New York, Skidmore College, and I was doing tons of theater.
Was it known for theater?
They have a great theater program. It's a liberal arts school, but their theater program it's not gigantic, but they built a nice theater, and we got to do like, more traditional plays, and then I was part of like a wave of students that got really into experimental theater, so we started doing these weird like late night experimental pieces while the teachers weren't there that we called the Failure Series. And
okay, what was that about?
Literally, like a bunch of us would just show up late at night, and the students that knew about it would show up to watch it too, and we'd be like, okay, I want to do this, and someone else would be like, well, I had this idea, okay, and we'd improvise an entire performance.
Really?
And people would be like sound designing while we were doing it, and someone would be running lights.
Was it videotaped? Did you guys videotape it?
No, never. I don't know if anyone.
Really?
Maybe someone did, I don't know.
Wow.
But that was really fun, and that was like, everyone was, we were all so jazzed to be making art that it just was this wave that was happening at the time where we all started getting into this experimental work, and we started wanting to do it, so we started doing stuff like that. I used to do a lot of comedy.
Can you describe that show you did? That's fascinating.
Can I describe it more?
It was an improv?
It was all improvised, but it's really hard to describe.
Around the Star Trek theme.
Oh, that show?
Yes.
Okay, so I've done a ton of comedy improv, sketch improv, that kind of stuff
But that's later in your life, I guess.
No, ever since college, actually. I started doing improv in college. And then I found I had a real facility for it because it allowed me to tap in. It's funny, we were having this conversation about art earlier before we started the show.
Yeah.
And improv really allowed me to tap into like my creative force. And because there wasn't any script in creating sketches, or we would play like short games and stuff, but eventually we started doing long form storytelling as well through improv.
So let me ask you a question. Is improv easier because you don't have to memorize lines?
It's different. It's easier that you don't have to memorize lines unless you feel more comfortable doing it, acting that way. Because some people like the parameters of like, this is my role and here are my lines, and I know how we're creating a scene, and I know what the objectives are. Mm-hmm. Improv is the opposite. It's totally a free-for-all, and it's all about you engaging your creativity and being in the moment with somebody else on stage and really listening. I mean, all of acting is a lot about listening. Mm-hmm. And with improv, you're really like, you need to like lock in with the other people, but then the force comes through you, and like, so you can get these insane moments of inspiration that I would have these experiences on stage sometimes where I almost felt like I was like over here outside of my body watching me make up stuff.
Wow.
Being like, where's that coming from? Where your mouth would just be like, blah, 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 like, and you'd invent entire scenes. Eventually, like I was saying, we got to the point where we would improvise entire plays. And so the Star Trek show that you're asking about was later on. It was, I think I got into this group around like maybe 2004 or something like that.
Okay, gotcha.
And it was this guy from Texas, I think he was from Austin, and he started a group here because he had been in a group in Austin called Start Trekkin'. And they would do a Star Trek, a completely improvised show in the style of the original series, Star Trek original series. And but it would be totally improvised. So you'd get a suggestion from the audience, and then you'd make up an entire episode of a fake Star Trek show with new characters, but in the style of Captain Kirk and that whole genre.
How could you come up with stuff on the spot? Did you have predetermined scripts?
No. No, never.
Really?
No, that's the
Always
whole
on
point. It's
fly?
completely improvised.
Wow. How long did you do that for? That went on for a while.
Only a couple
right?
years, I think.
A couple of years.
I
Wow.
really wanted, when I got into it, I really wanted to do science fiction improv,
Mm-hmm.
and then this showed up, and I got in the group, and then I did it for a while, and then after a while, I was like, I started to feel the constraints of that format, where it was like Star Trek, you know, and for me, science fiction is a lot broader than Star Trek, so
Sure.
I kind of was like, ideally for me, a show, doing like a sci-fi improv show would be, maybe you'd invent or go towards a whole new style of sci-fi for every show, and so you'd invent like whole new worlds and all that. But Star Trekking was cool because it was very formatted in that style, so you kind of knew what you were shooting for. And
Gotcha.
I'm a little bit of a loose cannon on stage, so I don't think I was always sticking to the format all the way.
Got it.
But I was a really good villain. I found
Really? You were a good villain?
I leaned towards wanting to be the villain for the Star Trek shows. I don't know
Really,
why.
really. What intrigues
Mm-hmm.
you about the villainism, if you will, or being a villain?
Well, I mean, it's just like the overacting is part of it. You know, especially in the old series, they're all kind of, the characters are overblown, you know what I mean? They're ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
But
they're
that's exciting.
silly.
It made it attractive to little kids too, you know?
It's true. I mean, that is a really,
Colorful and
it's a fascinating show. I mean, so influential. Who didn't grow up seeing the original Star Trek?
yeah, absolutely. So I just want to say that I saw Star Trek in German. So
Oh, wow,
I
really?
was born in Vienna, and we saw it in German.
Wow.
And then we landed in America, and I was like, "Yo, Dad, these guys are speaking English." They're like, "There's no way the Americans built that kind of a spaceship." So,
What do you mean? That's what you're...
yes, that's what was the dialogue at the table about why it was German or English. It was a joke, obviously.
Oh, I see. I see.
It was a joke.
They're saying that there was no way the Americans would be capable of building a futuristic
yes, that
ship
was
like that?
that's sort of the pseudo-European German take on things. You know, you want it built right, you come to the Germans.
That's
you know,
funny.
so I would have said the Japanese. I don't know, but I was a huge George Takei fan. I gotta be
Really?
honest with you, I was really.
Oh, fascinating.
I was like, George was the man.
What a voice on that guy.
And really fascinating life and what he's been through, where he comes from.
Well, he was in the internment camps, wasn't he?
Yes, yes, not only that. And the fact of who he's become lately is an fascinating story for me. He sort of has become a very political activist in one direction online. And to some, I think it's rescinding the incredible history he has. I have a personalized poster from him.
Really? He signed a poster
he signed
for
a
you?
poster for me and everything.
You met him where?
At one of the shows.
Cool.
At one of the shows, and it was really cool, and just like the whole character sets and everything. But it's funny, like the bass player from Kiss, who likes to destroy his image, and they have such a great legacy. Why are you trying to hurt it at the end there? You know what happens there?
Well, you know, I mean, society has gone pear-shaped in the last few years, and I think you're just seeing everyone's extreme response to extreme circumstances, you know, and you're not going to agree with everyone's opinions about whatever, and it's important to keep in mind that every person has an individual perspective on reality.
Sure.
And so maybe even though you loved Kiss, you might get to know Gene Simmons and think that you don't like Gene Simmons, you know? So you can't always, that whole idea of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, you can't always, the art isn't always the same as the artist.
Sure, I just want to go down that rabbit hole for a minute, because not only is the media inventing realities in our minds about the celebrities, but we do it ourselves.
Absolutely.
You're in high school, you imagine, you meet this girl, a boy, whatever, a loved one, and you all of a sudden imagine exactly what they're like. You're so afraid to talk to them. Then you meet them, and you're like, this is not what I expected. You create this fantasy in your brain.
Oh, yeah.
How does that, are we that creative? We build these fantasies?
You have an entire, say, all right, let's use Gene Simmons as an example, right? you as a youth, if you grew up loving Kiss, and we're probably around the same age, so like when I was like 7 years old, they were one of my first favorite bands, right? At their heyday.
Yeah. For me, it was Twisted Sister, but whatever.
Okay, whatever, but a band like that.
Yes.
Let's just put it that genre. So you have a whole imaginary relationship with these guys from as a child, you know, until now this age of yours. But you've never met them. You have no idea what they're really like. All you know is their art. And then, and then the internet allows us to start to get to know the intricacies of everyone's personalities because there's so much access to everyone.
Yes.
So now you're really starting to get to know everyone as they are.
Wow.
And so the relationship that happened in your head from when you were 7 is irrelevant to who this person actually is. It has nothing to do with it.
But it's shocking. It's shocking when anybody as genius as you are is going to be shocked by that situation.
What do you mean?
Meaning that they've built something up in their heads about an individual, then they meet them and it's different.
Yeah.
And the media makes that worse. The media drives that to all kinds of degrees, right?
Yeah, for a whole slew of different reasons they do that too, you know. So, I mean, again, like, the media is not your dad, right? It's important to understand that the media has its own agenda, and it has a series of agendas according to whoever is pushing whatever specific agenda within the overarching agenda as well. And it's not your dad. It's not there to give you a hug and say you played a great game of baseball. It's a whole other thing.
Hold on.
It's important to have an ability to decipher, to be literate, to understanding symbolism inside the media and agendas inside the media, and the fact that there are all these corporations running this, and those things are not, corporations by definition are not people. They're soulless entities, and so it's a deep well that you have to be wary of. You know.
Don't you remember when Ronald Reagan jumped on TV at midnight and coddled everyone?
What did he say?
Coddled everyone to bed after watching reruns of Honeymooners and Odd Couple.
What do you mean he jumped on TV at midnight? What are you talking
I remember
about?
him being on TV, coddling people, saying these wonderful things about America. It was in my brain, instilled. So the media's not your dad. The TV's not your dad.
Nope.
Subconsciously, people are buying. That's who they're listening to more than their parents.
Yeah. Oh,
Would
yeah.
you agree they listen to TV more than their parents? It is their dad.
Undoubtedly, and that is, I mean, that's a huge issue because the parents, I mean, at this point, the parents have been raised by the media, even the grandparents at this point. I mean, the last 100 years has been the media influencing our thoughts, right? Ever since they figured out radio.
Sure, even the Sparrow campaign in China in the 50s. Complete control by the media.
What is that? I don't know that.
I'll have to show you a show. So,
okay.
I made this show a couple of shows ago about the Great Sparrow Campaign.
Okay.
In the 1950s, Mao got on and said, I figured out a way how I'm going to be able to feed every man, woman, and child. We'll never have another problem with food. The problem is a little bird called the sparrow. Every man, woman, and child must kill sparrows until you're blue in the face. If you don't kill the sparrow, we're going to take you out. Like,
why?
You're anti-government.
Why?
Because the sparrows, according to Mao, was preventing the fields from growing to the max.
Wow.
So I will show you this, please, after the show. I'd like to. It's called the Great Sparrow Campaign, and for 2 years, everybody went out and killed bazillions of sparrows. It was the main campaign. Then, all of a sudden, darkness comes over the sky. Like in the movie. What is that darkness? They go, we killed the sparrows. What could that be in the sky? What was it? Locusts. By the bazillions that were controlled by the sparrows. That now created the biggest famine for 11 years in China, killing millions of individuals.
Why would Mao Was his intention to create a famine? Is that why?
No, his intent.
Why would he?
There's
What's the
many
bullshit about the
theories.
sparrows?
The point was that he thought his scientists were accurate, that the sparrow was causing the fields not to grow completely.
His scientists were telling him that?
So scientists were telling him to do this. So I just want to pull it up here for a second and
that is
and
wild,
show you.
man.
It's just wild stuff, and
It doesn't even seem real.
it doesn't seem real. But
And
I assure
the citizens
you,
were like, "Yes, we will kill the sparrow."
dude, I swear to God, it's called the Great Sparrow Campaign. I have it here. Ooh, sorry for my last show. The Great Sparrow Campaign. And there it is. They turned it into the Four Pest Campaign because they included rats and other animals.
That would eat
but
the locusts.
here is what happened that kicked off the largest mass starvation in years, starting off with during the Great Sparrow Campaign. It has been called hundreds of millions of sparrows were killed, mostly because people chased them until the birds were so tired that they fell off the sky.
3 years
The
later, as
problem-
many as 45 million people were dead? Are you kidding
Dude,
me?
look at this. Look at this. The problem with the Great Sparrow became evident in 1960. The sparrow, it seems, did not eat grain seeds. They also eat the insects.
Oh, my God.
With no birds controlling them, insects population boomed. Locusts by the billions came and swarmed to the country, eating everything they could find in its way.
That's crazy.
This is real, my friend. This happened. This is part of our history that has taken out many humans. Now, many theories can be put around this. Is it eugenics? Is it a plan? Was it an accident?
Is it
By
just
God
stupidity?
and Jesus, I hope they all just made a mistake.
Yeah, is it just human error? Is it just stupid?
So
Wow.
you and I started talking about something at the beginning of the show, which is fascinating. During my cybersecurity summit at Marist College, the primary guest speaker came up there, and guess what he talked about? The entire first hour at Marist College in front of 360 senior government officials, everything, was about antiquities and Egypt and the hieroglyphics. And without going into making the big mystery, which he did,
Okay.
he tied it to that those hieroglyphics were decoded. And those hieroglyphics were written on papyrus, on linens. And ultimately, the kings and queens were buried and covered in these linens put in, saying that this decoding of the hieroglyphics into the writing of these linens gave the gods knowledge of who's passing over the river of the dead. Otherwise, it's just a pile of flesh and blood. You needed that writing to describe the individual, what they've been through. And the speaker tied it into how we are all decoders. How from evidence from them and what we're doing today with computers and technology and virtual realities, we're constantly decoding, trying to figure things out. Is what we're talking about all part of decoding? Does this atrocity need to take place for us to decode our reality? Have you ever thought about that? Can we decode our reality without events like this?
Absolutely. Of course. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that just sort of, I don't want to call it a distraction because clearly it's an insane loss of life, right? It's
Look at the millions of people, sir.
a terrible detour. I mean,
So this is a detour. This is not a positive attribute.
it's not
This is a
necessary,
detour.
let's just put it that way. I mean, you know, like...
Is eugenics completely unnecessary?
Probably. I don't really believe in a lot. I mean, I don't buy a lot of that stuff. There's a reason that we all are here on this planet, and it seems like part of the human's journey on this planet is to figure out why we're here. And what the purpose of humanity is, the greater purpose is, what we're doing here and how to make it, how to keep on improving our lives
The experiments done in World War II,
Mm-hmm.
as crazy as they were, left information about humans as society that we have not gained any other way.
When you say the experiments, what are you talking about?
The horrible genocide done in World War II.
Uh-huh.
And the way they tracked that and the way the experiments were done did create the way they genetically played with twins and all of that, if you remember
Okay.
that.
Uh-huh.
Created data that we wouldn't have had any other way.
Well, I mean, some people think that cloning was invented as far back as then. You know, so...
You would not have had this data without these atrocities.
But, you know, I feel like you can get data in different ways, and it's the way... Going about getting data through human suffering is a bad idea. Because it doesn't yield anything but more suffering. If you...
Are you sure about that?
I'm
It's
not
crazy.
positive, but it seems to me that, I mean, if you want to do the old classic computer garbage in, garbage out thing.
No, I just think that we live in a universe controlled by bell curves, by black and white, by the bell curve, like, as much as there's light, there's much darkness. There always has to be an opposing force. So if true love exists, doesn't true hate have to equally exist?
Boy, as if I have real
wanted,
answers for this.
You wanted a philosophical conversation. We could talk about fucking computers and shit,
Look, it seems, if you want to talk about the Tao in pure dark and light, you know what I mean? The Tao, which is, like the two tear shapes that come together in a circle. One's a white tear shape, one's a black tear shape. In the center of each tear shape is the other color or shade, whatever you want to call it. So in the middle of the black shape is a white circle. In the middle of the white shape is the black circle. And in the Tao, it says, I don't know a lot about the Tao, but I like it because it feels very peaceful. But in the heart of the citadel lies the other.
Yes.
In the heart of the citadel lies the other. So in the heart of the black shape is the white dot. In the heart of the white shape is the black dot. And I look at that as the motor, the engine that powers the universe. Like the opposites that make the spin. Okay? And spin has a lot to do with creating...
You can have black and white, but a little bit of white and a little bit of black makes the whole machine work together.
Apparently.
Oh, wow, bro. You blow
Apparently.
me away. I see that.
Apparently.
So we have the bell curve, but the irregularities is what makes the whole thing really activate. Otherwise, it's static and sitting there.
Right, and maybe those are the energetic forces that power the third dimension, let's say? I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know.
You're saying that
that maybe on higher dimensional levels, it's more and more static because things are more unified in consciousness. And on this level, we're participating in polarity.
So hold on, you're saying the missing link could be the clue to this other place.
What is the missing link?
So you have your averages, right? But the one person that doesn't fit the average, right? So everything's black over here, but you get the one white dot.
Okay.
Or vice versa, which makes this whole machine sort of try to correct itself at all times.
At all times.
What does that dot really mean? Is that a connection to another realm, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, maybe you could look at it like, what's that guy's name?
Interesting.
Damn it, I'm forgetting his name right now, but he's a wonderful scientist, and he talked a lot about, you see, like a sun is giving out all this energy, but where is or a universe is expanding, what is providing the matter or the energy or the material for that universe to expand from? So let's say if it's all coming out of the sun and creating matter and all that is creating this expansion of the universe. Well, his thing was like, well, where's that coming from? There'd have to be another universe where the matter is leaving it to come into this universe to expand it.
Wasn't that Hawkins? Wasn't that Stephen Hawkins?
I don't know who it.
One of the
guy
greats.
that I'm thinking of is a modern guy, and I'm
not like Carl Jung or anybody.
No,
like
I'm
that.
blanking on his name right now, which is bugging me. But I do that a lot with for some reason with names, it's tricky sometimes.
I do believe that. I believe that there must be. We can sort of almost see the edge of a universe, sort of.
So what if in the Tao the white dot is a portal from the white tier, and the black dot is a portal from the black tier, and so they're feeding into each other through these different portals, and that is creating a feedback loop that creates the spin. I mean, because
it has to be, and you're making a lot of sense, because in the test of balancing the universe, there's irregularities, and it's always constantly irregular. The universe is not expanding evenly. It's expanding in very irregular. So you're saying the non-linear expansion is the actual motor.
Maybe that's a good way of putting it. Is the irregularity
yes.
causes the motion? Because if everything was order, it would just be too right-angly, and if everything was chaos, nothing would assemble into any form of life.
So the question is, who created the irregularity? Because logic says it would be all linear. Why did it become non-linear? What was the purpose of non-linear, or was the purpose of non-linear because you needed non-linear to have a moving, to create time?
I think so.
Linear doesn't create time. Non-linear creates time.
Linear implies static. Non-linear...
Two-dimensional.
Yeah, maybe non-linear. Chaos, it's the recipe. Enough chaos and enough order coming together create the third dimension, or progress, or movement. It's as simple as movement. You can look at it that way.
Yes, yes.
So...
Just balls in a flat plane. I mean, that's the whatever. I'm just saying, that's the experiment I saw about these German scientists.
Well, I don't want to, let's not veer off of Egypt because you brought up Egypt.
Yes,
and this guy...
Well, we're making a direct connection back because, in my opinion, those guys figured this stuff out. Those mathematics were there.
They certainly knew something.
But why... So what baffles me is the Mayans also figured out these mathematics. Why did they result in chopping a head every day? Was it that cool to chop a head? Why did they need the blood?
I think that...
Just control of society? Why couldn't love and peace fall into them?
Things that, as we see society in the last 2,000, 3,000 years, is part of humanity with amnesia. And that really what we're looking at is a worldwide society that existed much longer ago, that understood a higher form of physics, and that's why you find pyramids all over the world, because it was a system.
Did they have a higher emotional condition, or were they same emotionally as us?
It implies a higher emotional condition, I think.
It does, doesn't it? I thought so too.
You know, just a higher understanding of physics and the way the universe works, because as you start to look into the Great Pyramid, it's all about the phi ratio, and then you start to see that nature operates on the phi ratio, which is, again, brings us back to spin again. And so they're creating these incredible structures that operate on the same ratio as how nature, the universe, creates things.
Absolutely.
And that's occurring worldwide because you're finding pyramids all over the world. And they're probably...
And they're not burial grounds. We agree they are not.
Hell no.
The fact that pyramids are burial grounds?
No.
Never once.
No.
It was all in the mountain range.
It's probably a giant system that was connected all over the world, because the pyramids are operating in different parts of the world, have similar geometrical understandings.
Yes.
And visual patterns and stuff like that you can link. You could take Mayan carvings and show how that's the same as like this thing they're showing in ancient Egypt or or in India or something like that. So they're similar civilizations that are connected on a worldwide basis, and then some kind of gigantic cataclysm happened that wrecked everything,
that whole infrastructure apart,
destroyed the climate, and it probably wiped out most of humanity, and the rest of humanity is like gone back to the Stone Age. They have amnesia. They don't know what they are anymore.
Oh, man.
And the entirety of known humanity that we have, historical humanity, is the slow rebuilding of humanity, a humanity that was driven back into the Stone Age and through, I believe, higher dimensional
so we were
beings
like Mad Max, but we don't even realize.
Yeah, they're given the tools by higher dimensional beings to start to re-understand civilization.
Then why did the beginnings of the redeveloped society?
But that's why you have the Mayans cutting off heads, because they're a shadow of whatever that civilization was thousands of years before.
Really?
And they're just borrowing the buildings. They didn't make those buildings. And they would probably tell you they didn't build those pyramids either.
You don't believe the Mayans built those buildings?
Probably not.
So they chopped the heads to show control because it wasn't theirs in the first place?
Because they hadn't gotten there yet. They're not at the place where they have the deeper spiritual understanding of, like, here's how you build these unbuildable things. You know what I mean? I mean, like, what is it, Baalbek? The temple at Baalbek, the temple of Jupiter. There are these stones that are so freaking huge that no machine that we have on the modern age could possibly move one of those stones anywhere. So how did they get there? There's no explanation for that. And the Temple of Jupiter is built on top of that, so it implies that there was this gigantic civilization that knew how to manipulate matter on an incredibly advanced level. And then there's less advanced civilizations that are building temples on top of that still have the understanding of they still have the geometries, the sacred geometries, they have knowledge of that, but they're less evolved. And they say in ancient Egypt, as you go forward in time, the buildings become less and less sophisticated.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Imagine that's a marker throughout the universe of how old your sector of the planet is based on how is the evolution of the pyramids advancing or decreasing in technology?
And apparently
it's
we're de-evolving.
We're de-evolving.
But maybe it's because the original amazing buildings are much older, and then you have a civilization that is trying to figure out how they did that,
and build on top of it.
Copy it and build on top of it, exactly.
But if those ancients came back, they'd be like, look at these guys building up the turd. There's a turd like dirt.
Well, maybe
these guys are de-evolving, not evolving.
Well, maybe.
Or maybe that's a test to see how far.
That's right.
It's a test to see how far we are in their expected evolutionary state.
That's right. It's another experiment. Let's see what these guys can do from nothing. We'll leave them the clues.
Go back to why the death and destruction. Why the chopping of the heads. All right, so you're Mayans. You come into this area, and you're like, look at these beautiful buildings. Chop the fucking heads. Why the chopping of the heads after they found this place? Why? It was society control. They came to a point we had to control our society.
Again, I'd be lying if I said I knew why.
You know why. I know you know why.
I don't know why, but I can guess. There's this history of human sacrifice all over the world probably as well. And there seems to be some sort of power in human blood. This gets to
you believe
a
in
really...
adrenochrome?
Yeah, I do actually.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
So adrenochrome is saying it's a hallucinogenic drugs that very wealthy people can afford to do, and it's made from
the adrenal glands in the brain.
Glands of infants that have been murdered.
I don't think it has to be infants per se.
But there's murder. It has to be. I think it's not
like
fresh.
You ramp up the fear in a person and kill them and get the adrenalized fear from them, and you get a rush from injecting.
And you believe this really exists in the world?
I would say it probably. This is dark stuff. I don't know if you want to go down this road. I'm not.
Well, the Egyptians were doing crazy stuff like this.
What do you think they were doing?
I think they were doing genetic experiments.
Okay.
And I think they were like sewing shit on if it didn't work right. I don't know.
It seems like that somewhere back in the civilizations they understood things like DNA. And the reason I say that is
They did.
because of the caduceus that we see on all the medical buildings to this day.
Agreed. We also found medical tools. They did do other experimentation as well.
Okay. But is that all, was all that experimentation because of the mummification process, or you're saying they're doing that on living people, or
Good point. You know, I'm not sure. Good point.
It seems
could
like
be
they had a
all
profound
tools.
understanding of the body and the brain, and a lot of the art reflects that. I see a lot of people now decoding ancient Egyptian art and showing how it relates to segments of the brain and the pineal gland and parts of the body and stuff. And so you start to get this idea of like, they understood that there was this like illumination process that you could go through where the energy goes, the kundalini goes up the spine to the brain and it lights up the pineal gland, and then you have this higher consciousness experience, which I've kind of had before. And they show
During
it,
meditation?
they they showed it coded in the art. So their art shows that they had an understanding of that, and they understood what the brain looked like. And the Eye of Horus is you can find that on the internet now, that classic cross section of the pineal gland and the gland surrounding it in the center of the brain is the Eye of Horus. And so they totally knew all this stuff, and either they figured it out from dissecting bodies, or they figured it out because spiritually they were going through these processes that allowed them to have
Here's the pineal gland.
the Gnostic, a knowledge of this just through,
So they knew about
the Eye
this,
of Horus, right?
And they said that at that time they should not have had this knowledge, but they clearly knew about this in detail and how it worked. And how it worked. So
they knew a lot, man.
Have we regressed since?
We forgot.
So it's not about regression. It's about the amnesia and that we're catching up from this big event that happened.
Yeah, I think so. And so because you're thrown back into, figuring civilization out all over again, you're going to have all the different permutations of how humanity, given this disadvantage, evolves, and you're going to have these dark moments in societies of mass death and sacrifices and all that crap. So
I just want to show this to you. This is what you're talking about. This was on the hieroglyphs. Oh, I just had it there. This is the pineal gland, and those are the hieroglyphs.
Right. It's the same thing. They obviously
right
knew.
There. They obviously knew.
But what is the third eye? The third eye looks up, by the way.
Yeah, it does. I thought it looked forward.
I believe it looks up.
Really?
Yeah, which is fascinating. So if you think about the energetic,
it's going
up and out the crown chakra. So the third eye is sort of looking up towards maybe whatever's up here. So maybe you have like another chakra above your head that's
not looking forward.
Yeah, that's higher. That's sort of like a higher consciousness chakra.
I didn't know that. I thought it was the other way around.
I believe it looks up. I could be wrong.
So let's take a look. That was found in the hieroglyphs. I think it was Ra's pyramid too, right?
I don't know where
that's the actual
that specifically comes from.
Gland. Yeah. Clearly, they had to have done a significant surgery to understand this in detail. Very advanced surgery.
Unless they were having experiences with higher levels of consciousness that were illuminating them towards the information, because if you think about the pineal gland, the inner eye, it gets information from somewhere. It's a visionary tool. So like let's say,
do you think
purely from
this without cutting, really?
I'm just saying, this is just a guess. I mean, I'm willing to bet that, they did this kind of surgery for sure. But I have a feeling like maybe they were tapped into higher spiritual knowledge, and that they could be getting visions, especially there in the pineal gland. That's the thing that's getting the visions. And it could be just giving them the knowledge that they needed.
Interesting. Look at this. What is DMT? Look at that. They also call it
dimethyltryptamine, isn't that what it is?
The spirit molecule, hallucinogenic drug which which naturally occurs in the several plants.
And your brain produces it.
And your brain produces it. So, and they connect it to the third eye there. So does that have an effect? Does DMT give you, is it a drug or does it activate the third eye?
I mean, it implies that our body is already designed to interact with it, right? It makes it. If we're a little DMT factory, then I think something like ayahuasca, it stops processes in the body that inhibit your ability to experience it. I mean, I might be a little wrong on that one, but there's something about that where you are, apparently our brains are set up to experience it and receive it. So maybe some hallucinogens stop the process of...
why is the third eye always on the forehead?
It's where it is.
But it's looking up.
I believe so.
Okay.
But maybe that's just the way that you know, symbolically you're saying this area, right?
Gotcha.
Like here.
Okay.
Where those two lines meet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In there.
Inside.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In the middle.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So imagine how many hundreds of years, I can't imagine how long it took them to decode this, right? And figure all this out. It's pretty amazing.
I mean, it feels like...
how they did all this and then, you know, or what came first? Did they analyze their bodies and then make the hieroglyphics? How do you think that play out? Yeah, the Egyptians. How did those hieroglyphics come to be based on their analysis of these bodies and of the universe?
Well, you know what's interesting is like, okay, so, all right, so my show that I've been doing, this is going to get to your point. My show that I've been doing, the Post-Relevant podcast, it started because I saw this movie, Under the Silver Lake, which is from...
I heard half of it.
2018 it was put out. It was this weird movie that came out and disappeared.
And you were describing what the meaning was.
And so the entire movie is coded, okay? There's symbolic imagery and codes, actually like number codes and stuff like that, but also the costuming and the actions that the characters do, and everything is all coded throughout the entire movie. And so, excuse me, if you take something like a higher... so I watched this movie and I didn't get it, but I saw it and I was like, oh, there's some Egyptian costuming in this one scene. I bet I could go into this movie and figure it all out, because there's been like a little swell of people who are like, what is this movie really about?
What's the name of it?
Under the Silver Lake. Because it's a really weird movie, and you're like, you watch it and you're left going like, what the hell did I just watch?
So this movie, Under the Silver Lake, okay. So this inspired you to get the show started.
And I said, I bet I could decode this movie, and this would be a cool reason to start a show, is to, in episode through episode, go through little pieces of the film and try to explain it all.
This is 2018 Cannes Film Festival premiere.
Yeah, I think A24 put it out.
Really?
It was actually released in theaters, but it got buried for some reason.
And it's a neo-noir black comedy? What does that mean?
Yeah, I would say that's neo-noir, like a detective, 50s detective.
Oh, 50 Detectives.
It's in that style, but the main character doesn't even have a job. He's not a detective, but he's acting as the detective in LA for the story. Okay. It's funny, it's bizarre, it's dark, it's fascinating. I mean, it's a puzzle. The whole movie's a puzzle that's asking you to decode it, because that's what the main character is doing, is trying to figure this thing out.
Really?
So the reason that I bring that up is because with a single image or a single series of images, it's like an entire idea of knowledge. And so you take something like a hieroglyph, a single hieroglyph implies an entire idea of knowledge. So because their language is speaking in images, they're passing on an entire school of knowledge through entire ideas, as opposed to like a word. A single word for them is a whole ball of ideas, which is an amazing way to communicate with other people. So in a way, like, they left these whole balls of ideas, these idea packets, in every symbol on the walls of these temples, probably with the understanding that humanity would eventually get to the stage where we could start to get it and translate it and decipher it. And it would allow us to have insight into these higher dimensional physics that they clearly had when they built these temples thousands of years ago.
So let's talk about the pictures that we send to each other in text. Mm-hmm. Are we inventing hieroglyphics?
Okay.
Well, how is that?
You're saying like emojis?
The
GIFs?
emojis
GIFs? What are you talking about?
The emojis are hieroglyphics.
Okay.
How do we go from language into creating this understanding? Which would mean that before the hieroglyphics, there was a level of communication that turned into the hieroglyphics marked on those walls. The way we're inventing those pics we
And what
text
would
each
you
other.
use to translate those hieroglyphics? Like an entire, if you took a symbol and the
I would
symbol
need sometimes
implied,
sentences to describe that one picture.
but what would you have that could decipher?
Understanding.
What would be there in your brain that was designed to decipher an image that implied a whole packet of knowledge?
That gland? Yeah. Really?
Because it's connected to a higher dimensional knowing.
And that's the gland in your brain, the
Pineal gland.
Is the one that makes you decipher or see things?
It allows you the access to higher dimensional knowledge. So it
But aren't we just
understands
learning
language
that
on a
on
larger level.
But aren't we learning that on Earth, whatever we're learning? Like
What do you mean?
what
do you mean?
Like we're born, we learn how to speak, we learn how to eat, move, do things. That's not a pineal gland. It's something we're taught from our parents.
I'm fascinated by that idea because you watch babies and they learn at such an incredible rate, right? But there's things coded into the genes to say, now you eat food, now you crawl, now you stand, now you walk. Like, you can show them how to do it, but they're going to do it no matter what.
Well, humans don't have instincts like animals, but there seems something instinctual about what you're saying.
We're
But aren't
programmed
there just
to...
needs of the physical flesh and blood to exist in this realm? It needs food, it needs sleep, it just sort of
It's such a
comes with the
sophisticated
physical.
machine that goes through all of these stages of growth and learning that it's so
unravel
sophisticated that it blows my mind. I'm like, where these creatures that walk, talk, eat, think, we create symbolic languages, we create cities, we create war, you can create forms of art that take other humans years to figure out. Like, there's the level of depth of expression that the human has is seemingly unlimited and sophisticated and so abstracted in some ways that it's like, what a bizarre creature to come along.
So hold on. So something happened badly, we're going through amnesia. Do we have to go through amnesia in order to exercise
Well, let's
over time and distance?
Let's look at that with the example of a human life. You're born not knowing shit, right? And you have to go through all these stages to learn, right? So the human life is like that whole society, that whole journey of our entire human earthbound civilization, writ small in a single person, from nothing to wisdom.
Something.
So apparently that's just sort of how we play the game here on Earth School is
Well,
if you come in knowing everything, there might be nothing to do. We're here to do something. There's like, maybe we're here to express these higher dimensional ideas in the three-dimensional level because it's so hard to do it here.
Well, the nature versus nurture argument has existed, and we talk about what that is.
But I think it's the challenge of doing it here is the thing. The game here is the challenge of doing it in 3D.
But let me ask you something, and all the guests here. Look at your life. We have pain. We feel all these things. Doesn't it feel unnatural to live in Earth? There's
so
something like I don't know. I'm not inherently part of the scenery. Like we're foreign to this environment.
Yeah.
Why do people have that feeling?
Like you can't.
Like
How
we're
would
not,
you?
We're not meant to be here.
How
Why
hard would
is
it be to
bad for us?
be? How hard would it be to be like living in the woods naked? most animals are naked out in the woods, right? Like humans would have a lot of trouble with that.
Would they?
It seems like it. I mean, if you gave birth to a baby and put it in the woods, it'd be dead in like a week, you know?
Yes, yes.
But a lot of animals are up walking around
And they say that's the instinctual part of humans compared
but they're
to
designed
animals.
to do that. We're not designed
We're
for that.
designed that we need this intervention and training.
Yeah, so we're designed for a different reason. So we don't, in some ways, we're of the earth, but in other ways, we kind of don't fit here because we're playing a different game than the other animals on this planet.
We are.
Right?
Yes, yes.
And I like to look at it as playing games because that is, there's a freedom in understanding life that way.
Yeah.
And fun. I mean, if you ask any person, no matter what their experience is, ultimately they feel the best when they're having fun, when they're having a good time, right? That's the best feeling. Or one of the best feelings, let's put it that way. And all of us strive towards that form of novelty. So I like to put experience in that idea of like we're here playing different games on the planet. So that you keep that in mind, keep that perspective in mind.
So is decoding really a game?
Absolutely.
So, wow, this is interesting. So, much like the Egyptians and every society we've had, we've always played a game, and the primary game was decoding.
Seems like it.
Just like we're doing now. We're decoding the earth, we're decoding the universe, we're creating these virtual environments. We created language, now we're creating real virtual environments to mimic everything we can and enhance our reality even further. I mean, it's just a paradox. It's an evolution paradox.
What are we supposed to be doing with these virtual environments?
We're supposed to be enhancing our physical lives. The virtual environment is to enhance our physical existence.
How?
I don't know. I don't know, but it's supposed to do something important.
Do you feel like it does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I feel it does because there are certain things that you could do in those realms that could be so incredible about communication and joining together that it'll enhance our physical lives by seeing what's there and then bringing that back over.
So it's like modeling.
Bringing that back over.
It's like modeling things.
Modeling and then bring it back to reality.
I think that's the most important part, though, is bringing it back.
Yeah. You play this game, and like, it's really awesome to play this game.
Yeah.
Let's just act like this in regular life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. I feel this wariness with the whole virtual thing because I feel like we could go there and get lost there and forget about this. You know what I mean?
But there's art that I draw in Google Paintbrush, and that art in my virtual world I've created in the Paintbrush for Google in VR is touching me in the real world.
The light drawing? Do you do like the light
drawing? Yeah, I go
drawing?
in there and the Google Paintbrush and I make these environments, and that art sticks with me.
Okay.
It's changed me. It's enhanced me by the art I made in VR.
I've had very brief stints of experiencing couple different VR goggles. I can't remember the one that I really liked, but what's the popular? What was the first big one?
Bro.
I don't like the Oculus, but there was a different one.
Something or other.
No, it was a more simple name. The one that I experienced that I liked a little more.
I'm not sure.
But the thing that really hits you really hard is there are moments where you're like,
wait a minute.
You're totally there, right? You're totally there in that world, and you know that world's not there. As soon as you take off the glasses, you're like, oh, it's not there. And then you walk out. I remember using one of those goggles and then walking outside at night and looking at the stars and being like, oh my God, this could all be
virtual.
Yeah, it freaked me out.
Absolutely, bro. Take a look at this. So this is Paintbrush. You put the glasses on and you paint all the stuff around you.
Yeah, I've tried that before.
It's incredible. And after you paint this for 2-3 hours and you go outside and look at reality, you're like, was this painted too? wait a minute, was that painted? That's what we're learning from our version. All right. So I figured out a really good question.
Does it make you feel good, though, when you use it?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel satisfied. I feel a level of meditation.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard anyone say that before.
Because of my acceptance, maybe, or whatever. Yeah, but I feel when I'm sitting there and painting, and I do it in a particular way, and it's become relaxing for me, yes.
Wow, that's cool.
But I can only handle it for an hour or two. My eyes get bugged out.
Right, your brain...
Your brain overjuices.
Yeah.
It's like overjuicing.
It feels like a real strain with the eyes.
Yeah. That's going to get better. That's going to get better.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, look at the real world. I mean, how do you know we're not wearing invisible glasses now that are really high definition? How do you know we're not wearing 24K glasses looking at each other right now?
Well, I mean, I can do this, and it seems like I'm not, at the very least.
But how do you know it's not overlaid somewhere in there?
How would it be overlaid somewhere in there? By what? What's doing that?
Some technology that's putting things
You're
in front
implying
of
there's
ours.
a higher intelligence that is
monitoring our reactions.
And filtering our perceptions as well.
Filtering our perceptions. At times, it wants to learn from us naturally. And at times, it loses its patience and starts injecting, moving us along faster.
Do you have a relationship with this entity?
Well, I think that's for another show. Do you?
I mean, often, especially exploring meditation and stuff like that.
Yes.
Maybe you come across a lot of ideas that you wonder, like, what else is out there. So
yes, okay. So, I mean, let's just talk about it because I looked at many religions. I studied many things. I feel what Einstein said about humanity touches me the most.
Okay.
There were pieces of light traveling through space at a million miles an hour. And you can't feel and touch anything, but you're conscious. And we come across this sector of the universe with some blessed beings who came before us, created this place where we could feel and touch and be. And then we go back onto our trip. Imagine we are just pieces of light and we're experimenting this in our endless journey to the edge of the universe. And this is just this fabricated existence in order for us to have these feelings.
Yeah.
Overcome boredom, sort of.
Have you ever seen, like, photos of orbs?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. There was a little while where I was taking pictures of, I was getting a lot of orbs in my pictures.
The orbs are anomalies.
I mean, I don't know. The camera can see them for some reason.
Okay, so let's talk about orbs.
But that's a little
So
being of light.
Well, hold on. They're saying that that's a camera glitch.
I don't
There's
think
this
so.
little weird speck of stuff in the
I don't
corner.
think so.
You know, kind of like my logo. You guys see my logo down here? It's sort of like that, but it's like an anomaly.
I don't think so.
I don't either, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I don't think so. I'll tell you why I don't think so. Because to me, okay, all right, just talk for a little bit while I pull this up for a second.
I mean, I've had experience. There was a woman, there's an artist, actually a friend, my friend's wife works with this artist from New York who has some sort of relationship with the orbs. And there was a time where I went to see her speak. And after I saw her speak, I would take photos, and I have at least a couple photos where the orbs are super bright.
Yes.
And all alone in the photographs, like, it's not a glitch in the photograph. It's this ball of light, like really bright light, like in the picture. And it came up, it wasn't coincidence, like it came up because after I had spent time listening to this woman talk about her relationship with orbs, and it was like, that's not a coincidence. Like, that's a thing that my camera can see, but I can't.
Let's go down this rabbit hole. This is called the Droposphere, the Dropa circle.
Okay.
These Dropa circles, were found in 2 places on the planet in the millions.
Where?
They were found in China in the cave with those statues.
Well, those what statues?
The terracotta statues.
All the statues that were buried.
They were
that
found there.
Okay.
Where else were they found? In Siberia, where that explosion took place in the 1920s.
Oh,
and the
Tuscaloosa.
Where's the third place it was found? Floating next to the fucking Apollo 3 mission. By the dozens. Which was the same camera shot they took that one time, everybody remembers, when the string came in front of them, and all of a sudden the Apollo mission got punctured. Mm-hmm. And they had to do emergency stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was a scene in space where all of a sudden this white pole comes across, few tropospheres floating by, all of a sudden they get punctured by some kind of small meteor.
All right, let me slow you down, because you just introduced a couple ideas here.
Yes, several.
You showed me a photo of a sculpture, a metal sculpture.
Okay.
And you're saying that those are those representations of the orbs?
These metal sculptures were found, and they're saying they're natural in these caves.
What do you mean natural? That's not natural.
They've said they found these Dropa discs.
This thing?
They found these Dropa discs.
That was carved by somebody.
That I'll find you the actual picture of it.
Okay.
But these Dropospheres that were found in these caves were also found floating in space.
Metal objects floating in space?
I guess they're metal. I assume they're metal. I assume it's metal.
And what do you think those are?
I think those are automatic asteroid destroying machines.
Okay.
That are implanted in every planet that's protected by a certain species. Then when an asteroid comes in, they are automatically deployed to save the fucking race. That's what I think they are.
Whoa, that's wild, man.
I think the reason the meteor in Siberia didn't wipe out the Earth is because these tropospheres are automatically deployed. Wow. And I believe these get automatically deployed by planetary systems and are just
from what?
Floating in space some places.
Deployed from what?
Some kind of automatic thing that says meteors coming, shoot these fucking things in that direction, take it out.
An automatic thing?
What's
the source? What's the source?
Van Allen belt monitoring
You're saying
system.
The Earth manufactures them?
No, I think somebody else manufactured them and left them here as these automatic things that triggered when this event takes place.
Fascinating.
And I think that because we have tropospheres in our side of the galaxy, proves why we have lived on this planet for all these years, and that this planet has protection, Van Allen belts, tropospheres, and probably multiple other things that I can't describe, protecting our life in a very closed bubble atmosphere. Truman Show.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And that's where I'm going with this. I'm sorry to...
No, I like it. That's fascinating.
So yeah, I'm going to show you some, over time, I'll show you some videos. Okay. And what fascinates me is when I saw the documentary and they had these things floating by, 2 weeks after I saw the documentary about the guy in the cave holding the things. I don't have all the stuff ready on the website, but next time we'll do a show again. We'll bring all that up. It's really
I've never even heard of them before.
Really?
That's really wild.
But isn't this what podcasters do? We share info,
you
take it your way. Who knows what happens from this sort of our gathering of minds, you know?
Well, what I like about podcasting and the internet in general is this non-local learning, let's put it. So there's not an authority.
It's like a distance learning.
A single authority that's hierarchically giving us the information, but it's more like nature, and that it's non-local sources. Like it's all like the knowledge is all bubbling from all directions, and so there seems to be this endless.
Later, man. Sorry.
Seems to be like this endless opportunity to learn new information from all directions.
Yes.
And
yes.
organically, through like the overmind of all, humanity on the planet now, through modern technology, and that I find super appealing because I feel like it's at least slightly mimicking nature in the way that nature works, and nature is non-local.
Oh wow!
You know what I mean?
It's got to go like
Expanding
the ocean.
in all
It's got to
directions.
expand, go back and forth, mix together, constantly mixing and becoming something bigger.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think that's sort of the internet has introduced that ability for us to share knowledge in that way, non-locally. So there's not you see the systems of hierarchy seem to be breaking down because humanity's consciousness has got to a place where we no longer need the overlord to be saying this is true and this is false. Now we want to learn from each other in this non-local fashion.
So, but if you're saying what you're saying is true, then the aliens would have mass empathy.
I think
and
so.
Understanding, not
some of them for sure.
They wouldn't be killers.
Probably a lot of them aren't. But I feel like we probably have had interference as well.
By those?
I mean, it seems like, if you go back to the pharaohs again, right? It seems to be a system of kings and queens that would say that genetically they're evolved from, I don't know if you want to call them the Anunnaki or fallen angels or whatever, but the Great Pyramid tells the story of Osiris and Isis.
Yes, yes.
And they are essentially, their story alludes back to coming from the star Sirius,
yes.
from Canis Major,
yes.
or the Belt of Orion.
Yes.
And Osiris is Orion and Isis is Sirius.
Yes. And
so their whole tradition comes from saying, like, we come from beings that come from there.
Through the red star.
And so I'm losing my train of thought a little bit, but it's
getting late. No, but I hear what you're saying with this.
Can you put together where I was coming from just then? Because I lost it. I lost my train of thought just then.
The fact that they are just the coding. They're constantly figuring out where they sort of are. They knew where they were.
But okay, what I was trying to go for was that there was a hierarchy of like where the official beings that are descended from the gods.
I see.
And so now you listen to us hierarchically.
I see.
So our history comes from royalty essentially claiming royalty because they say, well, we're descended from the gods. Mm-hmm. And so that's where all these forms of hierarchy come from. And maybe that was what we needed for a period of time in order to develop civilization. But now we're at the point where
we
don't want that hierarchy anymore.
Wow, so learning happens in stages, and we're letting go of stage one.
Seems like it.
Of the shuttle launcher.
Seems like it.
I just want to go back to this just for a moment because I just found this. So, so the controversy and unexplained theories of the Dropa stones. Just a few more minutes.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
It started in 1938. Plenty of controversy and unexplained theories around the stones. Found amidst the remains of a strange race, the stones continue to remain unexplained archaeological find because the stones belong to the Chinese. Study of the stones rather limited. China and their dropospheres. There's the Professor Tay. You can set him in a set of caves, tunneled through mountains where he found thousands of them.
That's wild.
Where he thought that dated back to 12,000 BC.
Wow.
And they were stone-carved round discs. Did the silent Dropa stones give up their secrets? Dr. Tsum found findings are to be believed. The hieroglyphs on the stones were of the most part unreadable. However, the doctor was able to piece together a story that was astonishing, which I'll leave to you what it is, which we revealed earlier about what their purpose is.
Oh, okay.
I just want to notice also, there's the Russia story when it was found during the thing, the Russian Adropa stones. Also in Austria, there's a big story about these Adropa stones. And it's a really interesting mystery about why they exist and where they've come from. So much like what you're seeing from ancient Egypt, here's something current. They're just continuously changing this. How are we truly advancing if we're constantly hiding stuff from each other? Or is that constantly needed to give us the pressure to move forward? Like the little white dot in the black side, it has to constantly be pushed.
Maybe it's just a phase of development for humanity, and this hierarchical phase we're coming out of, they had power, and they had the ability to keep the power in certain locations and hide anomalies from humanity for a while. And now, because of how we're growing and through technology,
we're seeing it,
and non-local learning, there's too many people who have access to information, and so it's no longer possible to keep secrets like that anymore from the majority of people.
Do aliens believe in God, and will we believe in God when we're finished with our mission?
I mean, probably, and a lot of people already believe in God now. God's probably pretty popular.
Will God go away?
What is God? I mean, how are you defining God?
An unbelievable entity that has control over all beings that are alive in this current and realm.
I kind of look at it as I always like the George Lucas The Force idea, which is
it's just the Force,
pure consciousness that is creating reality, and that emanates through everything. It's sort of like the idea of the ether. So it's this. It's invisible to our perceptions now, in the same way that the orbs are invisible to your eyes, but a camera can see them. So maybe this thing that I would call, in some ways, electricity, but whatever it is, this creative consciousness that permeates the universe, and that you can tap into on your own through meditation or prayer or things like that. So that's how I would consider God. I don't think it's the isness of being, like the I am, the pure I am of nothing else but I exist. And then we are the multiplicity of the I am, so we are the we are.
But you being the way you think about this, and I feel there's something. I can't truly explain it, but there's a feeling of connectivity that's unexplainable.
Yeah.
And possibly because of the way we've been held back from information, it's right there. It just, we can't touch it. We have been taken away the tools to see it standing right there.
Well, really what you're asked to do is to find it inside
yourself, yes.
Through sensing, through your internal sensory, your ability to sense finer forms of consciousness, like energy, to sense this thing. Like, okay, so you turn on the light because there's electricity connected to the light bulb, and it gives it the spark to illuminate, right? And so each individual has the potential or the ability to turn on the light inside of themselves and to experience it within and to get to know it, because I think as you do that stuff, it's an ever-evolving process of getting to know this energy source. So there's something powering us all, right? And it's already
doubt.
there.
It's doubt.
Doubt? How so?
If the whole side's supposed to be one color or the other supposed to be another color, but the machine that makes it move is that one altering spot in your main thing, it's our self-doubt that pushes us.
Well, in this model, the doubt is a piece of the equation. But there's something, what's the opposite of doubt? Knowing?
Yes.
So maybe there's some...
Or assurance, if you will, being sure.
It's the confrontation of the two things that create the anomaly of like, I can't understand that. Like, how can two polarities exist simultaneously and annihilate each other,
yes.
right? And then there's like, I don't get that. And the I don't get that makes the explosion of something new. It's fascinating, right? Because it's so, the Tao that can be spoken is not the true Tao. So as we try to talk about this thing, we can only point at it and circle it and try to get at it, but ultimately it's beyond the speaking.
And the point of our lives is repetition of that.
Uh-huh. In different fashions.
In different fashions.
Yeah.
And that's what brings life and boredom. Boredom's
boredom. Important.
Boredom's a big deal.
Yeah.
It overcomes everything. It's the doubt. It's that correction. It's the continuous, constant drip of doubt, correction, and acceptance and love, because you can kill it. You can kill it and not repeat it. You don't want to kill it. You want to love it and repeat it. Wow. We definitely teach our kids something very different than what we're talking about. We teach them very much to be grounded, how to pay attention, how to listen to your leaders, how to work in these boxes, how to fill out these boxes, multiple choice. I see how my children have been brainwashed, my son, over the last 9 years, in my understanding of reality in that realm, with all of these things that put him right where he is. It's so obvious that a young man at that age would say, yes, my existence is these boxes I fill out, my baseball game, and there's just nothing else. There's not even, they don't even allow it. We bring it up at home and we constantly talk about it. But they're so grounded when you go back to school, there's no room for that kind of thing. And I think the evolution of that is, they're not really friends and love each other.
That's interesting.
And I don't see the love and general acceptance among their students. And I think it's an aftermath of that.
Well, it has to be constantly modeled to them over and over again, right? They have to be reminded too. They're still learning how to be people.
Yes.
So this has to be if you want them to experience love and community, you have to keep on modeling that to them. And really, our education system is still this holdover from the industrial age, where we're all just sort of being brainwashed to participate with, to mine the gold and build the buildings and make the bullets and all that bullshit that doesn't mean much to us anymore. We're sort of past that whole thing.
We haven't, because the people who've been hurt in that building still have resolutions to be worked out.
The teachers, what are you talking about?
No, like in America, compared to other countries, I think there's still this black American thing that is not resolved.
For sure.
It's just not resolved. And I think I even at one point thought it was we're past it. It's just not resolved. These things have to be put on the table and worked out before we get any further, man.
Every individual has to come to terms with their interpretation of what it is we're all doing together, and has to be willing to participate on correcting it, if you want to put it that way, on their own, problem solving on their own. The willingness for the adults to think for themselves and problem solve for this larger community thing that doesn't seem to be working. The parents, they have to start making different decisions. We're still this collective made up of all these individuals who are still following traditions that maybe don't really serve us anymore, and each individual has to wake up to that and make different choices and propose different solutions. And really, that's where we want to just keep on getting the communities to be like, none of us like this. We're not, who's digging this? Let's try all these different other things and see if those work better. I mean, that's really, we need a more elastic community to participate in the game in different ways and problem solve in easier ways. Some of our laws and traditions are too set in stone They're not as easy to manipulate and adjust. They don't make adjustments all that well, and so we're still kind of going by this old thing that doesn't work in the way that nature adapts.
Didn't it feel like the pandemic maybe had sort of an outside chance of truly creating a reset? The aftermath is ugly, but couldn't it have been a fabulous reset without wars? It did not have a positive
Certainly
effect.
was a possibility. I mean, I feel like if there's a good outcome for the pandemic, it's that it has caused a lot of people to look at their lives and question what they're doing with their lives, what they really value, what they're going to do now that they weren't bothering to do before, because suddenly the way I look at the pandemic is it was a near-death experience for the entire world. And so whenever you hear someone talk about a near-death experience, what's the thing? That's it.
It's like,
every single person who comes back from a near-death experience says, I'm changed from this thing. I see life completely differently. I'm making different choices now.
But look at it today. We didn't have that effect.
You don't know that. It's too early to tell.
Oh.
I think that we're seeing a lot of chaos in our traditions right now, and a lot of shit has been disrupted, and we're slowly seeing the fallout. It's too big to see it like that.
Really?
It's too big to see it all like that. I think it helped break down a lot of things, and that looks scary in the present moment, but I think that a reconfiguring of a worldwide society is going to take some real time,
10,
and
15,
you're going to need perspective in 20, 30 years to be like, oh, look at how much we changed in that short decade, Like that thing catalyzed all this massive change that we're going to keep on seeing throughout the 2020s. I think this decade is going to be insane.
Seen the effect.
No, this decade is going to be freaking crazy, man.
That's a good point, man.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Mm-hmm. So what are your next few shows going to be about on your podcast?
All right, I just put one out today, actually. It's just funny that I'm here. And it's a watch-along. My brother, Andy Ristaino, is an incredibly talented artist.
He did your art?
No, I do all the art. I do everything on the show. But he loved the movie like I did. And so he agreed to do episodes of the podcast with me where we talk about the movie and try to decipher it.
Okay.
And so we both have this idea, and someone who listened to the show also suggested it too, of doing a watch-along.
A watch-along of the movie.
We watched the movie, and in real time we recorded us watching it and explaining it.
Under the Silver Lake movie.
Yes. So what you can do with episode 22...
It's set in 2011 LA.
Correct.
Okay.
So in my current episode 22, you can put on Under the Silver Lake, and we even tell you how to sync it up with the watch-along.
No way!
Yeah, so you sync it up with the watch-along, and you play the watch-along at the same time as you play the movie, and in real time, while you're watching the movie, we're in your ears saying, okay, this means that, and that guy's doing that because... So
wait, hold on.
I try to explain the whole movie.
Did you invent this?
No.
I've never heard of this.
Oh yeah, it's a thing people do.
To sync the movie with the talking?
Yeah.
No, it's like that thing where you're in the side and you kind of talk along.
Yeah.
It's like this. We play the movie and we talk alongside of it.
Yeah. It's great.
You can sync it. How do you sync it?
It came out great. I love it.
How do you sync it?
Well, so right at the beginning of the movie, the A24 logo comes together from off the screen.
Yes.
And it comes together and forms A24, and then it breaks back apart. So in the moment where the A24 is completely assembled, that's the moment where you press play. And I go 1, 2, 3, go. And when I say go and you're lined up with that A24 completely assembled, you press play and we press play.
How long is the movie?
It's got to be over 2 hours because the episode is
139 minutes. So it could fall out of sync if you're not paying attention. You could be by the end of the movie.
As long as you don't stop it, it shouldn't be. I watched it. I do quality control, so I watched it after we recorded it and after I edited it and everything. I've watched it over again with the movie, and it seems to
To
Hopefully,
really hold.
God, I hope it still is, but it seems like it's perfectly synced up.
All the way to the very end.
Yeah.
Because I've done that, it's off
We used the version from Amazon.com.
Okay,
I
okay.
bought the movie off of Amazon for $3.
Okay.
So if you watch it online like that and you don't have any buffering problems, it should line up just fine.
God forbid you use to watch the version with the commercials, then it's...
You're screwed if you do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
So tell us more. So what else are you planning to do with the show?
Okay, so the next episode I have coming up is with an old friend of mine named Yehuda Duenas, and he is an actor and a theater director, and now he's an intimacy coordinator, and
an intimacy coordinator.
And so
sounds like a dating coach.
He like a stunt coordinator. He coordinates the moments of intimacy in movies and theater and stuff like that. So
moments of intimacy.
Like sex scenes and stuff like that.
Just sex scenes.
I'm sure it's expanded off of just that, but they bring him in, and he's created a whole system so that everyone on set feels safe, and that it all works for all the actors, and no one's being taken advantage of, and he's figured out a whole way where you can kind of like, what to do to make it look like it's happening, but it's not real.
Really?
Anyway, he's created a whole business about this. It's fascinating.
Really?
And so he was in Prague with me in the early 90s. We were part of a theater group.
Does he have a website we can check out? Do you want to promote him a little bit?
I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I think it's Yehuda XXY.
Yehuda
something like that.
XXY?
Don't quote me. I can't remember.
Okay, no, I can't.
Something like that. But if you look up Yehuda Duenas, you should be able to find him. He's a great artist. And so anyway, the two of us created the post-relevant movement in 1994 or 5.
There's a movement.
In Prague.
Prague?
We wrote a manifesto one day.
I can't pull him up, okay.
That's okay. I mean, maybe I'll be able to send it to you later and you can throw it in there on your show notes or something. But so we invented the post-relevant movement, and that's where the whole post-relevant podcast idea comes from. So back in the 90s, we invented it together. It was as a joke, but it was sort of like a fake artistic movement.
So the post-relevant was a movement eventually?
It was a fake artistic movement.
A fake art movement? Yeah. Based on what art? Based on, what do you mean, like a fake artistic movement?
I think we're sort of doing it as a joke. I was really into like the Church of the Subgenius. Did you ever hear of them?
Oh, wow. Yes, I have.
They're kind of a joke religious movement.
Yes.
Really fascinating stuff. And so I feel like the post-relevant movement I called it the movement for the end of time.
The double negative
The end of time.
Okay.
So there's the end of time, and then there's the end of time. And the end of time is eternity. So it's like us trying to explain the infinity symbol as an artistic movement.
But hold on, you're making an assumption that the end of time takes time.
No, I'm saying it's done.
But the end of time would be the end. There wouldn't have to be another ending to the end if it doesn't take any time to end.
But see, this is what you do, and it's this sort of a little bit of nonsense there that breaks your brain in a fun way. And it's really kind of like there was that whole postmodernism. And so I was like, let's take it a few steps further. And it's like, this movement means nothing. What happens when everything is meaningless now, And
so what did you learn about, by the way, this King's Chamber 2-part show? What was that about?
That was me going in depth, trying to explain some scenes at the end of Under the Silver Lake. And relating it to the mythology of the Great Pyramid and the mythology of Osiris and Isis and ancient Egypt.
And so everything's with this movie sort of and how it relates to...
But now I'm done with that.
Who's the gentleman with the baby? Is the baby
That's my brother Andy. That's Andy.
Gotcha. Does the baby talk? Do you get a chance?
The baby doesn't talk yet.
No.
No,
It's very cool.
He's a new baby. Fairly new.
Nice.
But Andy, if you want to check out Andy's work, it's andyristaino.com. He's a brilliant artist.
Oh,
he worked on Adventure Time.
A-N-D-I or Y?
A-N-D-Y, and then my last name, R-I-S-T.
Ristaino.
Yeah, he's a brilliant artist.
Let's take a look at, I spelled it wrong there, 1 second. I'll go to there and I'll put it in. AndyRistaino.com, excellent. How long has he been doing his art?
Forever.
Yeah?
Since he was little. He just drew, he started drawing as a little kid, like everybody else in my family, and then he never stopped drawing.
Ever since, what was it that was in your family that gave you guys such...
I don't know. We just were that way.
Really?
Yeah.
So here's his website. We're about to pull it up there.
There it is.
There it is.
He's a comic artist and an illustrator, and he's best known for his character design work that he's done on shows like Adventure Time, and he's working on a new show right now.
Wow. Okay, so he's a celebrity.
His work's incredible. It's really, I mean, his imagination is vibrant, you know.
Did he have this style since he was a child?
No, it develops just like everyone's does. But he just kept drawing every day.
These are his characters?
Oh, yeah. But those are characters that some of those characters he invented for like the show Adventure Time.
Wow,
and then some of them are ones that he's done on his own for his own, just to design different creatures and stuff like that.
He's incredible. This is great stuff.
Incredible. So...
You guys hang out a lot? You guys see each other all the time?
He lives in Massachusetts, so I see him a bunch. Yeah, we lived together in L.A. and San Francisco for a while, too, so...
Remember the Where's Waldo pictures?
Yeah.
It's got that,
yeah.
that kind of Where's Waldo thing.
Totally.
This is so interesting. I could spend weeks looking at these interesting characters.
So he's got an incredible sense for detail, too, so the two of us watching the movie, between the two of us, we were really, like, dissecting the hell out of it and really trying to get it visually. There's so much visually.
Is that supposed to be the Beatles right there?
The
Beatles?
I can't see it, but probably, yeah, it looks like it.
Oh, that's so sick.
It's like different phases of the Beatles.
Different phases of the Beatles.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, he's dope.
Is there one with a coffin? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, 2 coffins.
2 coffins, yes. Wow, really incredible.
Yeah, he's great.
So you've joined forces, and now you're doing the podcast.
But so, actually, Under the Silver Lake is now done. The thing that I put up today is the last...
Okay.
Is the last episode I'll do about Under the Silver Lake. I did 22 episodes about it. And some of the episodes are 3 hours long.
Wow, man.
Yeah,
really?
So I really did a lot. I mean, there's
who made the movie? Who? Do you even know at this point?
His name is David Robert Mitchell.
Wow.
He's about...
you blew me away. I got to see it now. Oh,
it's a great movie.
Really?
It's really cool. It's really cool. It's so much fun to try to figure it out.
Yes, yes.
I love that he put all that work into the movie in that way where there's so much more to it, and if you're willing to invest the time to sort of be like, what is this movie really doing? You'll get a lot back. And I used it as a way to explore all these other ideas that I was already interested in, because I saw that it was a thing that would point towards larger understandings of mysteries, world mysteries and stuff like that. So I used it as a way in towards exploring all this different subject matter. But now this is over, and now I'm moving on to the second season, and I'm doing interviews with people that I think are strange and interesting, and I'm doing interviews, I'm doing fake comedy interviews with actors and improvisers, and we'll be playing roles and creating fake shows, like fake talk shows for different episodes, and I'm doing that, and then other subject matter too. I went to the last summer. I went to the Elements Music Festival in Pennsylvania, and I recorded all this stuff there, and I'm going to put that whole together as a show with like everything that I saw and experienced there, and all the. I mean, there were like Native American healers that came there, as well as like.
So this is all audio. Are you going to expand it to video?
I don't have any plans yet. For that, I'm really still...
Would you be open to maybe do something? If you were ever open, I'd be open to do something with you if you need a video, you know?
Yeah, sure. I'm trying to figure out... You know? That's nice of you to say.
Well, you are. You look like a famous actor.
I'm trying to figure out a reason to do that, and that might be something else. I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out. I'm still jazzed on the audio thing, so that's been where my focus is. But my mind is, I'm totally open to it being like, what else can I do with this, or what can I,
I love the concept of
branch out
making
into
a documentary and putting codes in it like that to be decoded. That is so cool, right?
I mean, the
It's so
movie is
interesting.
not a documentary, though.
Right. I'm just saying that I'm planning to do a documentary, and imagine if I sort of put codes in
That'd be
there,
fascinating.
about different things, like, oh well, this meant that, you know.
That'd be really fascinating.
Yeah, you know, that's you gave
That's
me
a
some
cool
great
idea.
Yeah.
Would you do that? That's a lot of work.
Yeah, no, I'm planning. My brother's done a few, as you know. But yeah, no, I plan to do a documentary about. I have a couple of subjects. I'm fascinated of how technology is really unaffecting some and affecting others tremendously. You know. I saw this movie, Extinction, is it, on Netflix?
Okay.
And it's basically about an alien invasion. But I don't want to give it away. But the main character will go up to people in the street like, "Look, you see that?" And no one was paying attention. You know. And
Don't Look Up. Is that movie?
no, there's a difference called
Oh, okay.
Extinction.
Okay.
And it's really twist and turn. I don't want to give it away. It's really amazing. Maybe I will give it away. Okay, let me give it away. It's a really good movie. So Extinction, and some famous actors in it. So it's this town, and they're looking up, and these aliens, and all of a sudden, alien invasion comes. It was like, oh my God, how did this happen? Like, no, I've been showing you for weeks. There's aliens flying around looking at us. Halfway into the movie, these alien guys bust into the apartment in this building and shoot a guy. And they realize, no, the guy they shot was an android, and the alien invaders were humans. And it was a city of androids that were brainwashed and didn't remember they were androids anymore.
Wild.
And were being fucking taken back over by the humans. Wild. So
I like that.
how do you know which side you're on, kind of thing? Really fascinating.
I mean, that's a question to ask yourself for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We're kind of all over the place with this at this point. So it's been about 2 hours and change.
Wow, really? We've already been talking for 2 hours?
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
Oh my God. Do you normally do 2-hour shows?
I've done 3-hour shows.
Oh, wow.
But I try to stick to an hour if I can.
Yeah.
It's highly interesting, you know.
Yeah.
I find that in our world, all you really have is art, whether it's music or visual, or something. It's anything, or we're remembered as individuals or as groups.
Say that again?
Art is the only thing that defines us as groups or individuals. There's nothing else you can build, but that's really art in the end. It's
Buildings are art, language is art.
Language is art.
It's all
really
abstractions.
Art. And the ones who think they're not creating art, have lost their way. It's all about art.
Ultimately, in my opinion, art just comes down to the creative force. I mean, it's just that we're plugged into the creative force that we were talking about as God, and it wants to manifest in all these different ways out of us. And you engage your creativity and you create something. You know, you're like a little God here on this planet, a little piece of God.
Yes.
And God creates, and so you create, and
thing.
so little gods create little works of art, or a bunch of gods together create some big piece of art, like a city or something like that. And
so the decoding is just more a way to enjoy that whole part. Decoding is part of the process. We're supposed to enjoy it. It's a never-ending process, and you don't want it to end.
It's a recursive packet of information that, you know, like when you're exploring the molecular reality of things, you just keep on going, right? It keeps on getting, you go smaller and there's a thing, and then you're like, oh, but there's something smaller than that, and you go down in there.
So what do you think happens to your conscious mind when you leave this earth? Where does your conscious mind go? Does it go with you, or is it left behind on this plane?
I think that you are still, you're probably some better version of Phil, really. Probably more happy, this totally joyful ball of light that is playing about the universe in some fashion, you know.
Yet waiting for its next experience in the next virtual realm.
Well, they always say, you always hear like people who are into spirituality saying, oh, you couldn't wait to come here and be born as yourself, right? And then we get here and we're like, oh man, this is such a pain in the ass. But it's so hard. It's such a challenging game, right? But
We
yeah,
want the challenging game. We asked for the challenging game
right
before we even got here.
That's right. It seems that way. Let's put it that way. I mean, I can't say 100% sure. I'm 100% sure like that's what happens. I have had what I thought was an out-of-body experience, and it was pretty fascinating. So I've at least had experiences that show me like you're still an awareness outside of your body. You know.
Yes, I've had those experiences too. I do meditate. I do during transcendental. I wonder if there's a level of meditation where you can, even just for a moment, touch yourself in other parallel universes or other places you've been. And even though you realize it's completely foreign from somewhere else, if your conscious being is really there, it should understand those messages. Are you being told messages by yourself from past realms? And you're confusing it as something else?
Well, are we experiencing linear time and simultaneously experiencing nonlinear time? And so...
Which is possible like the ocean.
What if there's like... let's just say as an example, you manifested as 10 different people over 1,000 years, okay? This is just... I'm making this up. But... And so each one of those people don't know about the other ones, right? But they all are signaling up to the self that is you outside of time.
Precisely.
And so
the ball of light.
Maybe there's signals going back and forth from like the guy from 1000 BC back up to the ball of light, down to the guy from 3,999, back up to the ball of light, down to the guy in 2023. By the way,
eternal self compared to the different avatars.
So we get these messages from linear time, from each versions of ourselves.
That would be logical and have to be that way for messages to make it through time and space. Actually, it would have to be logical that logically would be there somehow, you know?
Yeah.
I'm getting some great ideas here, man. Really, this is fabulous, you know? Do you guys talk like this as children, you and your brother, where you induced these creative thoughts in each other?
You know, I don't know if
And did your parents get involved? Were they as creative?
My parents were very
What did they say when they saw this, when as a kid?
You're so you get a lot of like, oh, that's so creative, right? But they didn't have real identification with it. I think they appreciated that we had these ability and the drive and the talents, right? But they were very normal people. And maybe that's what we all needed was for people who were...
hot dog army.
Maybe what we needed was for people that were that stable and rooted in 3 dimensions, right? To create a platform that then we could all explode off in a million different directions and let our imaginations go.
What do you think is meant in this picture? What's that over there?
That's actually from Adventure Time. That's a character from Adventure Time.
The wolves were eating the purple thing.
Is that
Very
Miss
interesting.
something or other? Miss Ball of Grapes? I can't remember what she's called. Miss Jelly.
Incredible.
Miss Jelly Bean. I don't remember what her name is, but
it's very nice, man. You're an incredible individual. I hope we can do this again, my friend.
I'd be happy to. Thanks for having me on.
And I really am inspired to work in a documentary. Who knows? Maybe that's something in their future, you know? I find technology is a really interesting measuring point for how humanity is coming along.
For sure.
And it's a current version of what the pharaohs got to, and potentially other civilizations. So why do some people not accept technology inside of that thinking? Why do people not accept technology
we're clearly
when it's the main driver to evolve us?
It's the 2001 thing where it starts with the guy with the bone, the ape with the bone, using it as a weapon, and it goes all the way to, you know, a space station flying, you know, towards the moon. And then the monolith is some other even more advanced technology that evolves that guy into some other being.
Which comes to the nanopod. Would you put the thing in your brain? No. I would.
No.
I'm ready.
No, I'm not putting anything in my brain,
really?
Man. No, because I look at technology as tools, right? We're tool building and tool using hominids, what the hell we are. But tools are the external manifestation of spiritual abilities that you probably should be developing. So instead of putting the chip in your brain, develop your consciousness. The chip in your brain is that third eye in your brain.
How do we know our consciousness didn't develop that tool to be the third brain of the new world?
We don't know, and if you want to put the chip in your brain, that's your call.
Yes,
go for it, but I don't feel the need to do that.
I feel a natural evolution to have the implant.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
That
That's
is
so
crazy,
weird.
dude.
Yeah, I would totally sign up, you know?
That's the last thing I would do.
I would want to compete with the AI at that level.
I don't want to compete with AI.
That is where we're going. That's where we've evolved to, this point of time and space in humanity where we have to truly meld with the machine, you know?
I mean, they say that we're already cyborgs from wearing glasses, things like that.
Totally,
we're already
totally. Yeah,
cyborgs in that way. So
we're probably cyborgs from what we were taught every day in school too. And
yeah,
the
but I'm
language
just
and the
saying it as a
nuances.
machine, as integrating machine with the body.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to happen, right? There's obviously going to be a part of humanity that sticks the chip in their head and starts jacking into the computer and whatever. We're really close to that.
Did you have all your vaccinations when you were born?
I didn't have any choice about that, though.
Right, but aren't we artificial from all of that? Every human requirement to vaccinate the shit out of ourselves? My kids got...
That's a choice.
No, we don't. No, I have a choice. I have to vax my kids.
You have to in order to participate.
Go to school, yes.
Right, but that's still a choice.
Not participate in school is not a choice. It's a must thing.
I guess, I mean...
You're not part of the society if you're not participating in school in some way, whether they're doing homeschooling or some kind of schooling.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I don't know. That's a whole other conversation that maybe we don't want to go down that road, but...
Listen, I know we're tired. Thank you, everybody. If you're still here for watching the show. We went about 2 hours. Really interesting stuff.
Thanks.
I have no background music, unlike you when you talk. But hopefully the camera angles work. Phil, thank you.
My pleasure.
Really great show. See you guys next week. Thank you very much. Let me go to my ending screen here.